Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another lunch devotional. My name is Josh. I work with the students. And this week on Wednesday night, we as a youth are looking at the story where Jesus feeds the 5,000. And I'm pretty sure you've probably heard that story before. I've read it so many times, I've heard it taught so many times. But the basic story is Jesus is with his disciples and there's this massive crowd with him. It gets late. The disciples want to send the crowd away so they can go eat, which is very practical and makes so much logical sense. And then Jesus is going to use this moment to turn it on the disciples, to teach them a lot. He's going to demonstrate his love, his power, all these things, right? Like you've heard the story. Jesus takes 5 loaves, 2 fishes. He multiplies it. It feeds 5,000 men and who knows how many women and children. There's so many lessons that we can learn. And again, having read this, dozens of times, new things continue to come out and to stand out. And as I've been reading through it the last few days, just trying to get ready for youth on Wednesday night, here's the details that's been sending out to me. This is Mark 6:34. It says that Jesus saw a large crowd. He had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. So Jesus sees a large crowd and then he has compassion on them. So this is before he even does the miracle. This detail that's standing out to me is that God sees this people. So he sees their needs, their desires, their hurts, their longings. Like he sees them as people. He sees them not as just a mass, but he sees them. I think it's a very deep word where Jesus, in the midst of all his busyness, in the midst of all the crazy things happening, he is in the moment and he's actually seeing the people who are there. And then the result of seeing them is that he has compassion on them. Anytime the Bible talks about compassion in regards to God had compassion or Jesus had compassion, I always try to pay attention to that because I think it's communicating God's heart, and I want my heart to line up with God's heart. So when it talks about compassion, I always try to really pay attention to what it's saying, because I think it's communicating something about God. And what it's saying is Jesus is seeing these people, and the result of seeing them, he has compassion on them. He loves them. He's going to teach them. He's going to provide for them. I love these details, that Jesus saw the crowd and that he had compassion on them. I love it, for one, because I believe the gospel. I believe Jesus saw me. Uniquely, individually, he saw Josh Green and he reached down, he loved me, had compassion, and he saved my soul, and I am eternally grateful. But I also love those two details for the second reason. It's that I think God wants to grow me. He wants me to see people the way he sees people. He wants me to love them the way that he loves them, which means this: there's probably people in my world right now who I may not be truly seeing the way I need to see them. There may be people in my world right now that I need to love and have compassion on the way God has had compassion and the way he has loved me. A few months ago, Reed preached the message, and I don't honestly even remember what message it was, but one of his points was open your eyes, right? Open your eyes. And what he was saying was, look around, see who God has put in your world, see who God may be calling you to see, to know, to love, and then bravely step into what God might have for you, right? Open your eyes and look and see. We were at the grocery store this week, and my wife was getting some stuff together because we're doing some stuff for the youth. And this lady was like, hey, are you cooking for people? We're like, no. We're trying to explain it. And she's like, hey, can I just bless you? I feel led to just give you this $20 to bless you in whatever you feel like God's asking you to do. And just in that moment, my wife felt so loved that she felt seen, she felt known, she felt loved, that somebody just stepped into it. Not even that we needed the money to help the youth, but somebody was obediently stepping into what God had for them in that moment. And it impacted our lives, and we felt super loved and encouraged. What I love is that in this story, we see Jesus see the crowd, then he has compassion, and we see his love and compassion. It's incredible. But we also see his power. Look at what Jesus does with so little. He takes 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he literally feeds thousands. I just wonder sometimes what Jesus could do with our seemingly small and random acts of faith, where we love and we invest in those who God has put into our lives. What if we opened our eyes? What if we took a moment just to pause and to see who is in our path, who is in our world? And what if we boldly loved them the way that God has loved us? I just think we could be so encouraging. It could be such a blessing and benefit to so many people as we obediently step into what God might have for us.